like being pushed out of my comfort zone.
What I'm surprised about is you haven't got more into production over the years. But we can get into that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Devoted Creators podcast. I am here with a very, very special and talented person, but I'll allow her to introduce herself. So for the benefit of my audience, could you please tell them who you are and what you do?
My name is Vula, and I am a singer-songwriter from London.
Wow.
It's as
The
simple
way
as that.
she just downplayed that. You're not just any old singer-songwriter.
I am a singer-songwriter.
She's kind of a big deal, guys.
Vocal arranger.
She's kind of a big deal.
It wasn't me playing down. I was just stating facts.
Fair. But Vula is one of the most special and talented voices I've ever known.
Thank you.
I hope you don't mind me saying. I've admired your voice for a very long time.
Appreciate it.
I've been a fan of your music.
I've been doing this a long period of time.
Yeah, so I mean, because I don't know the answer to this. When did you start? How did you start?
Do you want the generic answer?
No, take us way back. What was the beginning?
Okay, well, my dad is a musician.
Okay.
So music has been in the family for sure. And I've always been singing, really. Wasn't born here, was born in the States.
Okay.
Came here when I was 5. Then between 5 and like 9, 10 was between here and Africa, South Africa and Zimbabwe, which is where my family from. Then kind of settled back here from like when I was 9 onwards. And yeah, kind of really just been singing all my life. Professionally, I would say probably since I was 17, because that's the first gig where I got paid.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I did.
So your dad was a musician.
Yeah.
What did he play?
He plays guitar and bass guitar.
Oh, still?
And yeah, and he's a rhythm guitarist, plays baqanga music, which is traditional South African. Yeah.
There was a click in that.
Because I speak Zulu.
Okay, fair. we might have to teach us some Zulu as well.
Okay, all right.
You said there was always music in the house. Like, what was the kind of journey? When did you decide I'm going to be a singer?
I've always kind of felt like I wanted to do something in music. I didn't know what exactly, but I think it's the first time I saw Janet Jackson.
Oh, for real?
And that's why I love her.
I know she's a big influence of yours.
Oh, she's my queen.
And what was that moment then?
Well, it's just seeing somebody who looked like her being celebrated. And I think subconsciously, representation is a real thing. And seeing somebody who looks like you in a positive way and is being uplifted and celebrated, it makes an impact regardless of how old you are. When you can understand that concept, it kind of stays with you. So like, I was like 6, 7, first time I saw her.
Yeah. And was it Rhythm Nation days?
Yeah, just before,
Okay.
actually. Just before her, the Control album. But I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Janet Jackson's a special case for me because, again, when I was a kid, she was a megastar. But the thing that was really surprising to me, and the reason why I feel like I gravitated towards her music and her as an artist, was to be the youngest sister of someone the size of Michael Jackson.
Right.
And to completely come out and be a star in her own right when none of the other Jacksons really pulled that off.
I know.
It kind of told me very early on Janet Jackson was a special person.
Yeah.
She's different.
But the thing is, with her, she had the qualities of Michael, obviously. But I loved that she actually was different, especially when she obviously was with Jam and Lewis, and they cultivated a specific sound.
What a team.
I mean, when you're that young and then you've got people making you sound like that from young, it's a wrap.
So you said 17 was when you got your first gig.
Yeah.
What was the gig?
It was a project called 10 Songs for Girls and Boys, and it was like a trip hoppy kind of thing. And actually it was through my dad, because he was working with this guy named Andrew Missingham for the council, I think it was.
Okay.
Anyway, he put me forward to be a vocalist.
So it was like a community project.
It wasn't the project that I did wasn't an actual project, but they were working together. And Andrew Missingham was looking for a vocalist. My dad put me forward. We recorded and then performed it. Yeah, I remember it was around Commercial Road kind of area, like Spitalfield Market.
Yeah.
I don't know if the venue's actually still there or not, but that was the first time I did a gig where
Was it Gramophone?
Paid. That could have been.
That was a big music venue back then. The
Yeah.
They closed that down a few years back. It was a great venue.
a good while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. And I remember the feeling. It's not my first time being on stage, but my first paid gig, so to speak. Yeah.
Do you remember your first time being on stage?
Yeah, like
a talent show or something
yeah,
like that.
absolutely. It was a talent show. And yeah, Chatsworth Palace. Oh my God, in Harmonton. Jesus Christ. Oh, I was about 14.
Do you remember what you sang?
No.
Come on.
I actually can't remember what I sang, but I know that I sang something and it went down well.
Did you win?
Then it wasn't really, I don't know actually if it was.
Just a showcase rather than
yeah,
a
it wasn't like a competition. And then I did a competition at Hackney Empire and I came second.
Okay.
They used to have the same thing like, live at the Apollo kind of
Mobile
vibe.
Unsigned, all of those kind of things.
That kind of thing. And I came second overall. I still got the I was 18 then.
What was your audition song back then?
It was I think it was Michael. Was it Michael Jackson? No. My audition song was Whitney Houston's "You Give Good Love."
Okay, snap.
But the song that I did, I think, was "Rock with You." That made me come second.
Your version of Rock. I've heard you perform Rock with You a couple of times.
Yeah,
Your version's pretty special.
I've done it a fair few times now.
It's got such a good groove to it.
It's
a ballad, but it's funky.
It's one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs, but it's not the favorite one.
No, what was your favorite?
"Lady of My Life."
Yeah, it's a crazy tune. That wasn't even a single, which most people don't realize.
I know people don't realize that, but I mean.
So after that first gig, 17, 18, what happens next?
Well, I went to college. I did. I studied music.
Yep.
As you do. And my first ever gig was with Beverly Knight.
Oh, wow.
So I'd met a drummer who was in the year above me doing the same course. I did a BTEC National Diploma in Public Music, which was really cool because I wasn't classically trained.
Yeah.
So Roxy Harris was doing the same course the year above me and put me forward because at that time he was a drummer for Omar.
Okay, wow, yeah.
And the tour manager...
Legend of soul.
The legendary. Yeah. So he was the drummer and the tour manager was tour managing Beverly Knight. And so that's how he'd heard that there's auditions. And he was like, "Vu, you've got to try it. Go for this." Yeah. And I remember the auditions were at John Henry's in Caledonia Road. Yeah, and I was still in college. So I went. I was kind of like, they made like, all right, we'll see it for like 10 minutes, that kind of thing. Because I was supposed to bring music and sheet and blah, blah, blah. But I just sang a cappella. I sang His Eyes on the Sparrow because they asked me to sing.
Oh, there's the Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Sister Act.
Yeah. Because I didn't know, I felt like I was being put on the spot. Yeah. And I just sang.
Fair enough.
I sang and then they were like, "Okay, thank you, we'll let you know." And then like 10 minutes later, I left. And 10 minutes later, I got a call.
10 minutes? That's a pretty good return.
It was. I just got to the bus stop to go home. And they were like, "Yeah, would you like to come back again?" Blah, blah, blah. That was my proper first audition.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it.
And what was it like working with Beverly?
Amazing. To this day. She's like proper mentor because she taught me the things that is really hard to just know off the cuff. So just touring etiquette for a female and generally as well, because I just felt like I'd won a competition as well because she was supporting Jamiroquai in the European leg of the tour. Yeah. So this was my first time ever. So
you touring with Beverly Knight and Jamiroquai? This
was my first time that I was leaving home to go and tour. But it was that thing of like, you're living on a tour bus. Because we're the support act, there were certain privileges we weren't getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned so much.
What were some of those lessons that really stood out for you, even like today?
Timing is everything. And just how to conduct yourself as a woman on a bus.
Why is that specific to women?
Because us ladies and our bodies, changes throughout time. And just when you're on a bus with like 8 other men, and I was 19.
Fair.
So I was very green behind the ears. And, it's more than just opening your mouth and singing now. And knowing the lyrics and learning your parts. It's like how to be, how to dress, because it's like a mobile home, really, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and it's a very small, compact kind of space that 10 people have to live in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you got put up with a lot of human personalities and interactions.
That part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough if you probably live in a house share with like 3 or 4 people.
I couldn't do it. I've never had to flat share, and I never could.
Yeah, I have, but it was with the right people, like with the, you know.
Fair, you got lucky.
Yeah, I got lucky because it was people who I knew. I don't think I'd ever, with people that I don't know.
Yeah, total strangers.
I don't think I could do that. I'm too petty for that shit.
Yeah.
Too grown, like. But yeah, just like I said, how to conduct yourself. You know, because perception is everything, and when you act a certain way, some people in a small space will think you're trying to be this, that, or the other, or whatever. Yeah. So I learned a lot. When you are on the support band as well, how to behave with the artist, the headlining artist, kind of thing, things like that.
Who did you meet? I mean, that tour must have taken you to some really interesting places.
I mean, that was my first time traveling in Europe.
So what was the tour
Italy. Like? It was amazing to see the Jamiroquai crowds because I was a fan.
Yeah.
But I'd only really, and I had seen him before as well. Yeah. So it was like interesting to see the way that I felt and being in a UK space, to see that in Europe. Like he was doing like arenas, and this was 1999, 2000. So still
that was 90s. Peak Jamiroquai.
Right.
Yeah.
He was doing like arenas and stadiums.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was like seeing the craziness of the fans, and just also seeing like people recognizing Bev because she had done Little L, I think, at that point. Because she was coming out to sing that. Just to be able to experience that, the size of crowd.
And were you intimidated? Like, how did
absolutely, I was like peeing my pants.
Yeah.
Because before I was used to performing to like the biggest crowd at that time was probably like 300.
And you can kind of make out 300 faces, but even that's not individuals.
Yeah, but yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I'm talking about like Jazz Cafe.
Yeah.
At that
so
point,
you can see the front 2 rows.
Yeah, you can. You can't see the back of Jazz Cafe, but you can see a good fair amount. And it was old Jazz Cafe as well, so you can see the people eating if you like look up stuff. But that was like
tens of thousands, different ballgame.
So scary, because it's like you're doing stuff that you've practiced so much and but when nerves kick in, it's like, oh my god, you just make stupid mistakes.
Did you ever make any like proper?
I was lucky that I never made any fumbles.
Okay.
Like big fumbles.
So you must forget words occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally, and that's when so I was also in LCGC, and the one which is London Community Gospel Choir. I just remembered that I have to say the full name, and the one thing that I had learnt there was like, when in doubt, riff it out. Is the kind of like the thing. So there's certain things that you can say which sound like the word, if you don't remember the word, kind of thing. Yeah.
Could you give us an example?
No. So
some people might not even know what a riff is.
I mean, it's not like, okay, so when it comes to like when I was doing Beverly Knight stuff, obviously I was backing vocalist, so it's not like we were riffing down the house. We were doing specific parts. But if you forgot a word, do you remember? I'm trying to think of an old Beverly Knight song that we used to do. Feel the flavor of the old school.
Oh, I love that shit.
Happiness we're bringing. So I definitely used to sing the wrong words, but it sounded similar. I think the lyric is feel the flavor of the old school. But I used to always sing keep the flavor of the old school. So keep and feel kind of sound really similar. And then I used to just if the nerves got the better of me, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm never on the old school, because I ain't. Sounds like keep a fail. Yeah, on the old school.
It's like that singing you do when you're having a drink at home and you're not really listening to the song, you just keep it going.
I am so good at making up lyrics, so good at fumbling lyrics, but when in doubt, riff it out. So when you don't know, just keep singing, keep going.
But I feel like also that comes from doing a lot of reps. Like if you've gone over the song a lot, if you know tunes, if you're good at listening.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people when they learn how to sing don't remember how to learn how to listen. I think I've noticed that with you, you listen a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the key differences.
My instrument is my ear first, more than my vocals, which I think a lot of people, I don't know if they would get that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and I say a lot of people, I'm not talking about the Joe blogs, I'm talking about musicians and singers. Sometimes it's not about just opening your mouth and singing because you know the song and you've heard it a million times on the radio. It is about obviously learning the melody, understanding the lyric, so that's why you have people like Whitney Houston, because she sang a lot of songs that she didn't write, but the way she sang them, it was so believable.
Yeah.
So she understood the lyric, and obviously her instrument, she just, sounded effortlessly. But I think that's because she's had an amazing ear.
Yeah.
So she knew where to go.
I think that's what makes people, it's a difference between a singer and a musician singer.
Yes.
Like there's a big difference.
There is a difference for sure.
And I love a musician singer.
I mean,
you're definitely one of those.
I'm a musician.
Layla's one of those. I mean, she is the musician singer.
Okay. Like for me,
Layla Hathaway, by the way.
Yes. Oh my God. Like I could listen to her all day. It's an instrument. There's nothing. The way she manipulates the melody it makes you like just forget that this is a voice you're hearing, but because you get really into her note choices, which to me that equates to language.
Yeah.
So now you're having a conversation, and that's what it's all about.
Have you worked with her before?
Yes.
What have you worked with her on?
So when she came to the UK in 2015 was the first time I'd met her, and I got called to do backing vocals for her, and then we just got on really well.
That would have terrified me if I got that call.
Really?
Yeah. I'd be so intimidated.
I was so excited. I was really, really excited, actually.
What was that experience like?
Amazing, because I was already a fan, and then I think when you kind of have just a self-confidence of like, no, I'm cool at what I do. Yes, there was, let me be honest, there was definitely an element of like fangirling, because it's like, oh my God, I want to sound like you, and you're the most amazing thing to sliced bread. And I don't sound like you, and I wish I did. But I was like excited just to hear her, because that to me was like, how do you do what you do? And actually working with her, I was like, oh, we do come from like the same tribe, musical tribe, because it was so, and she's so funny. Oh my gosh, she's a funny lady. It was hilarious. Like that kind of like any kind of nerves or preconceived ideas of how I thought that she was kind of just that broke that straight away.
What was she like when you say she was funny?
She's just got really funny sense of humor, which disarms you if you're feeling some kind of way. Yeah. First of all, I mean, I use humor as a tool to kind of make people like me.
It works.
I think
you come across as very charming. Who else have you worked with that's kind of that special level for you?
Well, so far in my career, I've been really blessed to have worked with a lot of high-level, high-quality artists, including with Madonna. I've done stuff with Adele, Sam Smith, Dizzy Rascal, MJ Cole. Obviously, I'll speak about Beverly Knight. Most people will probably recognise my work, which is now a good couple of years ago now. Well, I say a couple, over a decade. But the stuff I did with Basement Jaxx.
I think that's where most people recognize your voice from.
Yeah, like...
Because that was a very iconic time, even in British music. What Basement Jaxx were doing around that time was quite cutting edge. And you were a big part of that.
I don't think I actually really realised at the time. Because it was just like, I was just happy to be there and doing stuff. And then when they asked me to work with them, like to write, I was like, yeah, sure.
How did that come about?
So I joined the live band in 2003. And kind of been going on tour with them and everything. And then like 2 years in, they'd kind of asked me, because they'd heard that I write, because at that time I was doing loads of different things in dance and garage mainly. And the last thing that I did, which was released before doing anything with Basement Jaxx, was with MJ Cole. And they found out that I was like, oh, you did stuff with Matt. And you co-wrote the stuff? I was like, yeah.
Was like, that Oh My Gosh?
No.
Was that before then?
That's MJ Cole is Perfect Pitch and Wondering Why. Sorry, I'm just laughing because I was young. I was 22 when that came out. So they were like, oh, you write? And I was like, well, yeah, I do like something.
Do my thing.
Then they were like, well, do you want to do some writing? I was like, sure. Didn't know where it was going to go, what was going to happen. And they played me a couple of beats of different flavors and vibes. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could do something on this. And that was Oh My Gosh. And it sounded a little bit different.
I love that tune. It was sick. And the thing is, I heard it before. I knew who you were even back then. But I heard it before I knew it was you.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is sick. I know her. It's on the radio. I know her. Where did Oh My Gosh come from? What was that? What was your influence?
So the song definitely went through different versions. Originally, that song was called He Was the One. And Felix Buxton, one half of the legendary Basement Jaxx, he just kept on saying, yeah, it's cool, but we need something different. And I was like, okay, whatever. So at the time, they had their studio in Brixton, and I was still living at home in Hackney. And it was just, not that it was a mission, but it was obviously the travelling from east to south, taking the Victoria line right to the end. Yeah, Felix would constantly be asking me questions like, how you feeling? How you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm all right. And then I kind of wouldn't give anything away. And I was so R&B girl at that time. I wanted to be Faith Evans.
Of course.
Totally wanted to
be especially at that time of the, like,
I wanted to be Faith Evans. But yeah, I wanted all of the harmonies and all of everything. All of the sevenths, the ninths, the augmented, and which doesn't work in dance music. Didn't have an understanding then at that time. But yeah, I did like a song, wrote the song, came with the idea to the studio, and Felix and I were like, okay, this is cool, this is cute. And it was all singing. But what's going to make you stand out? And I goes, I don't know. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I think great.
That sounds good.
I can maybe rip it out even more. And they were like, yeah, nah. So we had multiple sessions. So I think session number 5, I was slightly miffed because Felix kept on going, yeah, but no. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, this ain't gonna work because we don't really.
It's not happening, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gelling. And it was very much like, well, why are you kind of like... By the way, I was late as well for that session. And what peed me off was... it was weird. It's really weird because there were some girls that were staying with me at the bus stop. And proper like Hackney girls, just chatting like that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rare. And I was telling Felix that. And Felix was like, that's it. I want you to do the song like that.
Like you're one of them.
Like you're one of them. I was like, no. I was so like, I'm not trying to sing like that. And he goes, what about if you just spoke? And I'm like, are you being serious right now? Yeah. He goes, just go and try it. Because Felix is one of those people that he will try everything. Like all kinds of things. He's made me be like, okay, go in there and sound like an LA hooker. I'm like, what? Yeah. He goes, come on, just, And then these are little bits and bobs that you hear throughout of Basement Jaxx's songs if you listen closely. That's what makes him a genius, actually. Yeah, so I was kind of like, see that boy just like taking the pee.
Yeah.
See that boy just standing over there. Step into the city like my hair. Like I was trying to be one of these girls that was talking about the weekends, going out in the shops and ting.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see how animated he was and extra happy.
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah, absolutely loved it, and I absolutely hated it
But the chorus is so catchy.
because I still kind of do say, "Oh my gosh." So yeah, the chorus used to be, "He was the one I saw. It's making me sing, and the throat is throating. But
Their rehearsals.
but he was like, yeah, he was the one just like, meh, it's like anything. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And he was like, that's it. Go and sing that. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He goes, just go and sing that. So I literally just off the cuff, oh my gosh. There you go. If I do things an octave below, then I'll sound amazing. I sound like Layla. I'll try to. But yeah, that was an off the cuff moment doing oh my gosh. And it was released in March of 2015. 2005.
Yeah,
I just lied.
So you just
I was like, that's how. 2005, and it got to number 7.
Snap.
Which top 10s meant something. Not that I'm saying that they don't mean anything right now, but the way that
the top 10 was a big deal back then.
Yeah, it was pre.
Because they kind of skipped the top 40 and they stopped at 10 and did all the top 10.
Yeah, and also what it meant because, 05, we were only just starting to get the hang of maybe streaming. Because when you think about it, iTunes was born in 01.
Yeah.
So it was still a thing. People still were actually physically buying CDs or buying songs in a physical format, as well as, maybe I can buy this song and it's 99p or 79p from iTunes. Like, I don't have to go out of my yard to buy this song. So, yeah, what it counted for, definitely airplay didn't affect as it does right now.
No.
Or things like Spotify streams and this and that and the other. Like, no. So it actually meant something a little bit more.
And how, if you don't mind me asking, how did that do for you financially if it was top 10?
It was all right. It got me my publishing deal. So it was all right. Because I wasn't published. But I had all the stuff that I'd done at that point in like garage music, as well as the MJ Cole stuff. And I wasn't published at all.
Oh, wow.
No. So when Oh My Gosh came out, it was like, who is this girl?
Yeah. And who's your first publishing deal with?
With Warner Chappell.
Amazing.
So I was with Warner Chappell for 6 years, which was interesting. I learned a lot again in my journey as a writer, writing for other people. I wanted to be able to write for myself at that point. And I was hoping that I would come to a point where I'd be in a position to be signing a deal as an artist deal. But unfortunately that never happened. Or fortunately actually. But I learned a lot in my publishing deal for sure.
What?
Well, writing for other people, the concept of writing for somebody else and getting really in depth into genres. So, at the beginning, a lot of people like, oh, you're the girl from Basement Jaxx. Oh my gosh, you're the granny from Basement Jaxx because of the video. And I'm like, I was like 25. It's like, yeah, I'm not a granny. No. So, and then, they wanted me to write another Oh My Gosh. I was like, that's never really going to happen.
No.
Because the way you write songs is with whoever's in the room at the time.
Yeah.
Because there was no brief when we created Oh My Gosh. Whereas in the deal that I was with, for sure, you get into spaces where it's like, okay, there's a brief. We need to write a song that sounds like something that's already out. Mm-hmm. And I found that a bit hard at the beginning because I was like, I want something fresh. I want something different. I want something new. I was kind of like...
Creatively, you want to create something.
I was kind of like the new kid on the block. It's like, oh, let's try this, let's try that. And I was being told constantly, like, it doesn't work like that. Then that kind of... I felt really stifled in that. And And I found that writing world a bit cliquey as well. It's like labels will constantly go to the same writers.
Same
because
producers.
it's like, because it's like, for them, it's tried and tested, isn't it? So they're not going to gamble a big amount of money on unknowns.
Unfortunately.
When I think like there's a lot of writers that, or people who are talented that were overlooked just because maybe they didn't have, you know, stuff that had been successful under their name already before. But everybody starts at zero.
Yeah.
And somebody has
you proved that.
Yeah, really, in that sense. And it was like, nah, man, I wasn't really... it kind of... I didn't want to turn out to be bitter about it. So my experience, I take that on board, and it took me a minute just to digest what was happening around me, for sure. But at that time as well, I was like, well, what do I want to take out of this? Because I still wanted to be writing, but it did put me in a bit of a funk, because I didn't want to have to write stuff that I didn't like. Yeah. That was my thing, which I guess made me a little bit rebellious, maybe you could say. Because I was like, I'm not into that. I ain't writing that. I ain't doing that. Whereas there's some people like, well, they know they're going to get a cut if they write something like this. Just look at it as a paycheck. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas, and especially if you're writing a song that you're not going to sing, people aren't really going to know unless they delve into like the credits and things like that. Because we were at a turning point as well. You know, if you bought something and you look at the back, you've got all things. Yeah. But now people are buying songs, streaming, are downloading songs. There's no details of who played what and who wrote what on it. People are just like...
You have to go to Wikipedia. And the song has to be big enough to even have a page.
And is Wikipedia correct sometimes?
No, it's made up.
See it there? So it's like... I mean, I do remember actually downloading some albums where a little extra thing was like a booklet. And, you know, kind of thing. Like, but it would be like a Mary J. Blige album or something like that.
It wasn't a regular thing. It stopped being a regular thing a long time ago.
And which is upsetting. Because it's like, I'm very interested to know who produced, who wrote. And
who played keys.
Yeah.
Who the drummer was.
That was such a big deal for me. Like, growing up, buying CDs. It was a proper thing for me. I would sit down and I'd play the whole album from beginning to end. And as I'm listening to it, I'm just like, okay, he's played what on this song? And sometimes if you're lucky, you'd have the lyrics as well then.
Yeah, some albums still have the lyrics in the books.
Man, that was the thing.
I remember Puff Daddy and Family, they had... I listened to the lyrics on the radio, and then I'd like check the ones that I'd wrote down when I got the book
to see I
got these words right.
Right, there you go. And that actually helped me to be learning songs.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, obviously we have technology now, so it's like you can just.
Well, Shazam gives you the lyrics. Spotify gives you the lyrics now.
Sometimes it ain't right.
No, actually, no. Sometimes they're not right. I've noticed that.
Yeah, there's one or two things I was like, that is.
They're probably using AI.
Let's not go there.
So during that 6 years, when you've got your publishing deal, Red Alert happens around that time as well?
Well, Red Alert happened before. Red Alert's got nothing to do with me in that sense. Because it was, oh my God, I forgot her name. Blue somebody. I'm sorry. But that came out in like...
Was that just before you?
Red Alert came out in 98, I think.
For real?
Yeah. Wow.
That felt much closer to, oh my gosh.
98 or 99.
Because I feel like when you went on tour with them, that song just got kind of made synonymous with you.
Yeah, because I used to sing that with Charlene Hector.
Yeah.
When we first went on tour, so we shared it. But actually, she sang it on tour before I joined, because she joined 2 years before me. Big up to Charlene Hector.
Her voice as well.
Stunning. I mean, she's, again, actually a legend. And if it wasn't for her, actually, because she's the one that put me forward for the auditions for Basement Jaxx.
Okay.
And
was that through LCGC that you knew?
No, because, I mean, I think she did a stint in London Community Gospel Choir, but not very long. I had met Charlene through another friend, a mutual friend of ours, Erin Sokel. She was singing of course, she was singing at 10 Rooms.
Okay.
And then I
ended up 10 Rooms.
For those who know about 10 Rooms.
Wow.
Back in the day, back in the day.
I think I met her
when
in there
was
as well.
young. There you go.
Yeah.
And I was like,
love
the
him.
first time I met her, I was just like, who is that? Like, wow.
Yeah.
Because she really captivated the room for me whenever she was like singing lead. And then it was just watching other people, how they reacted to it. Because I was like, I can't be the only one that's feeling these feelings. That's how amazing I think she is. And because she still has that to this day. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, now she's like, rightly so, a theatre star, and she's just shining in that space. And I can see the reaction and how people talk about her, and it's like nothing's changed. Rightly so, because it's just her talent just keeps growing and growing, and the way that her gift just keeps touching people in that way that I never forget the first time I heard her. So when I joined the Jacks, it was absolutely 1000% because of her. She'd put my name forward. Amazing. Because at that time she then got did an advert for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then
the Coca-Cola ad was like one of those moments.
That was a moment. Okay?
And I think, again, back to your point about representation, seeing her on that ad, I was like, that's one of us.
Okay.
Like, genuinely, she was actually singing it. She wasn't just an actress.
And she wasn't miming.
She wasn't miming.
It wasn't somebody else's voice.
Yeah, that was special. That was a moment for me.
For sure. For a lot of people, that's something that I'd heard people say as well. But, and the fact that a lot of people were saying, she's not American. That was another thing, which was amazing. And so one of the sponsors for the Olympics in 2004, which was in Greece, if I'm not mistaken, was Coca-Cola. So she did like a campaign, I think, for a year or nearly a year, singing that song because it was one of the sponsors. Yeah. So that kind of clashed with some of the dates that Basement Jaxx were going on tour. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, it's such a bore to be like starting from scratch trying to find somebody. I think they had asked her, is there anyone you would recommend? Okay. To which she had put my name forward. I'm not sure if there's other people that she put forward. I think so. I don't know. Girl, let me know. Yeah. But yes, I auditioned and got in, and then for a minute she wasn't there because she was doing the Coca-Cola stuff, and then she came back. So it was like, when that was pretty like wow, when she wasn't there and I was doing Vula on my own. Yeah. Because
such a big song.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And then it kind of felt more comforting when she came back, and then we did it together.
And that's good that they kept you together, didn't just like drop you out when she came back.
Well, I assumed that was going to be the case, because originally it was like, can you cover for me? It felt like, whilst I go and do this, can you just keep the seat warm kind of vibe. But it ended up being like the two of us, which was amazing. And then she left to pursue other things as well, and I stayed.
Fair.
Basically.
And how long? I mean, do you still work with those guys?
Amazing. Still do stuff. Not as much anymore because they're older. We're all older, and they have other projects that they're working on and other things that they want to do. But so many people I keep hearing in the grapevine that you should, do a reunion tour of this. I would love to.
Everyone's doing reunion tours.
Okay, because it's that time. Because cost of living. Yeah. But if they were to like call it, 1000% I'll do it.
Yeah. And what other projects have you been working on since then? Because I mean, obviously, between 2005 and now, a lot has happened.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my 20s, mid to late 20s, I dedicated to Basement Jaxx for sure, because we were just like on the road. Do you know what I mean? That period, that good 3, 4, 5 year period, part of it, it just is a bit of a blur.
Where did you go?
Everywhere. I mean, Basement Jaxx took me around the world. The first tour I did with Basement Jaxx was in the UK, and then they were like, okay, that was wonderful, fabulous. Are you free in January of 2004 because we're going to Australia? I was like,
okay, other side of the world.
Let me just give it a minute. Let me just check my diary and see if I'm free. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been to Australia, or most of Asia. I've been multiple times because of Basement Jaxx to like Japan, which is like my favorite.
What's Japan like for you?
It's my favorite city in the world, Tokyo. So I just love how it is so different in terms of the people,
Cultures,
but the culture is really similar, and like an African culture in that sense. Yeah. For me, my interpretation of it definitely like. But I love it. I love that they're short because I'm short. So when I go shopping, the trousers fit. Okay. Thank you. Good night. Don't have to sort out the thing.
roll up the cuffs.
It's annoying. But I love the shopping. I love the culture.
The food is amazing out there. Outrageous.
Yeah. And even down to like the technology. It just always kind of feels like they're ahead of time.
Yeah.
In a way as well. And ahead of everywhere else. And I love it. I've never been to China.
Okay.
I think there are definitely countries I still want to go to that I've never been. But
what were some of your other favourite places?
Well, my favourite city is Tokyo, and I guess my second favourite city is New York.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just feel like it's London on speed.
I always describe New York as London's taller, cooler younger brother.
Yeah, okay, I get that, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're all out all hours of the night and day. Like, you're just on 10 at all times, and I love that about New York. But it's kind of more rough as well. It is rough around the edges. Which I love. Yeah. I love that.
Well, you grew up in Hackney. You would.
Is that
It's not a dig, I'm just saying.
Well, I would agree with you, actually, yeah.
What is it like performing in the States? Because I feel like the audiences are quite markedly different.
It's definitely different. So I didn't do a lot of any Jack stuff in the States. It was with other artists. Okay. I ended up doing backing vocals for Sam Sparrow.
Oh, wow.
And we toured the US. That was fun.
I can imagine, because he's quite big in like the
it was
indie folk scene as well.
It was at the Black and Gold era as well, which is really cool.
His voice is outrageous. Such a good voice.
I love his. I don't tire.
Yeah,
actually, pretty cool, and we've become really close friends actually, since when I auditioned to be in the band and stuff, and then it was just like we just connected and clicked, and that was years ago. I sung at his wedding since then, and we just hang out all the time. But yeah, singing with American audiences, because of the culture, it's just so different. They love the fact that like they're fascinated with my accent.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, you sing like that and you sound like that. Like, say something.
Say something.
So I'm like, what?
They're fascinated by it.
They are. It's like sometimes to get their head around a black girl that sounds like this is a bit like, whoa. Because then I've had people say like, you know, the way you sing, like we just don't expect you to sound English.
I guess because they're associated with gospel and soul and R&B, which are typically American exports.
Yeah.
But also that's why we sing and sound like that, because that's what we grew up on.
Exactly.
So our ear goes that way. I guess that's what.
Yeah.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. I can't do the cute Ed Sheeran thing and like sing English.
Cute.
It is kind of cute.
It's alright. I mean, the way I see it is like everybody has an accent.
Yeah.
Everyone sounds like where they're from.
Yeah.
And when you're somewhere else, halfway across the other side of the world, you're going to sound strange.
Yeah.
Period pill.
Yeah.
That's it. So, I mean, I just found, because I did a stint 2014, 2016 where I was in LA.
Okay.
And definitely it was like, oh my God, your accent, you're so cute.
Yeah.
I'm like, thanks.
That must get boring after a while, though.
Yeah, after a while I was just like...
Because they're just a fascination to everyone.
I did get into places for free drinks.
What was 2 years in LA like? Because I can't be in LA for more than 2 weeks. I find it draining.
I loved it.
Yeah?
I did. I understand that because the pace is so different. But I think if I was to go and live back in the States, it has to be coastal. I can't be in middle America.
No.
That could never happen. And even now, like the state of the country, I don't know if I actually could go back to America and live full time.
Yeah, but you can actually legally live there, right? 'Cause you're
Yes,
born
I'm
there.
an American citizen.
Fair.
So I never changed my citizenship. Because
That was a good decision.
Brexit. But,
Yeah, our passport's not so useful anymore.
was it ever?
It was first. I looked at the list. The British passport was the first most useful passport. Now it's, I think, 14th. Japanese is first now.
Well, let me find me a Japanese man. Let me try.
Then you guys can go anywhere.
Let me try and fight. Because they ain't trying to fight nobody.
Yeah, it's peaceful.
I mean, I used to think like, what about Swiss? Because they just don't want to be fighting nobody.
True.
Because maybe that's another good one. But yeah, because most people like, I guess, hate Americans.
Yeah, well,
In a sense. Because they'd be fighting and getting
they've
in
got a
people's
reputation,
business.
unfortunately.
Just getting in people's business, like, leave it. It's not your mess. It's not your problem.
Yeah.
Oh, just...
Thinking of accents, actually, and people not sounding what they sing like. We kind of skated over you working with Madonna. How did that come about?
Oh, that was actually through London Community Gospel Choir. That's how I got to do. So it was that Ray of Light era.
Okay, yeah.
So with William Orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a few of us.
So in terms of like singing lyrics wrong, for some stupid reason, I always had it in my head that she was saying Anna Friel, the actress, instead of "And I Feel."
I just got home.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
I don't know why. I had that in my head for years.
I'm weak. Why? My friend.
I don't know. It's weird. It's so weird.
I'm gonna leave that one with you.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. But yeah, what's Madonna like?
She's about her business.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, the exchange was very business.
Fair. We used to, because they lived up in Holland Park. So when I was in school, we used to do trick or treat.
Right. Not trick or
But
treat.
only Guy Ritchie came to the door. She never did.
Of course, why would she?
Yeah, she's not going to bother
She's
with that.
Madonna.
But he gave us all 20 quid each.
Amen.
Which is quite nice.
Like they're ever going to miss that.
So yeah, sorry. Who else have you worked with that you thought was a lesson? Who taught you some stuff?
I mean, for me, right now in my life, where I am, and when I look back at the people that I have worked with, who I've encountered and who have affected me, have been people like Layla Hathaway and Quincy Jones. So
Yeah, for real. Quincy Jones.
that to me is
That
like,
happened.
yeah, that's happening.
Talk to me.
Happening.
Let's hear some more.
So it's when I came back from the States in 2016 and I started working with Jules Buckley a lot more. He kept calling me for the prom projects that he was working on. And there was a couple of proms that became massive and had a life after proms. That includes the Pete Tong Orchestra project,
Which is insane.
which is what I do right now, as well as and the Quincy Jones Orchestra project as well. So it's like, I mean, first of all, working with Jules is a godsend.
Well, we need to go because we kind of skipped. How did that come about?
Well,
Because I remember when I first saw you and I was like, again, I know her. Like, you're on the stage at the proms, which is like Royal Albert Hall, one of the biggest events in the British calendar. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest events in music, really.
Yeah, in British music.
In British
for sure.
music, for sure. How did that come about?
I got called to do. It was just like a gig. I got called by Jules Buckley. I'd met Jules Buckley through another friend of ours and a mutual friend, Brendan Riley. So big up Brendan Riley, who's actually like one of my best.
Another amazing vocalist.
Oh, ridiculous! Oh my gosh, like the best. See, I say oh my gosh all the time. I don't even mean.
Fair. It's on brand.
Me too. And yeah, I met him a couple of years prior to him. Actually, he was just definitely on the up when it comes to his career in conducting and arranging and stuff. And so we'd done like a project with. He'd called me to do the electric proms a couple of years previously, and I remember I couldn't do it, but I think
You said no.
I didn't say no. I said I couldn't do it.
You're playing hard to get.
I wanted to do it, but I think it clashed with like Basement Jaxx.
Fair.
You know, he might want to try and say something different, but I'm telling you the truth, okay? But he remembered me and called me, but we were definitely on friendly terms. It was really cool, but he was like, he could see what I was doing, and I wanted to get really more into the arranging side of things.
Fair.
And just coming back from the States, it was like, that was an opportunity to do that.
Perfect timing, yeah.
The timing, like, listen, I had a conversation with God. Like, faith, for me, very in and out. And I wouldn't consider myself to be a religious person at all. Maybe more spiritual and faithful in that sense. And because I believe that everybody has, to a certain degree, a personal relationship with whoever you think is a higher presence, a higher being.
And an individual purpose that we need to find for ourselves.
Or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enjoy
yourself.
Yeah. Or, it is what it is. But, so I just remember distinctively when I was coming back, I was like, I don't want to come back doing what I did when I left.
Yeah.
Please. And I had to learn the power of the word no. Because to close certain doors was allowing others doors to open.
Is that scary?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because, when you're a full-time singer, musician, you're like, I'm saying no to money, which essentially is saying no to bills being paid,
security,
or food on the table, and to the point where how much longer can you do that until you go and do a real job? Do you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really doing a lot. The first thing that I did coming back was Louisa, the X Factor winner.
Yeah.
I think she won in 2016, but I didn't watch it. So I was like, who?
Yeah.
At the time. And that was the only thing that I had. And when I had left, I'd said goodbye to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Including things like doing lots of functions. So at all different levels that I was working in, from artists who were doing, festivals and their own gigs, from academies to arenas to stadiums or whatever, to functions where I'm singing at bar mitzvahs or birthday parties.
Yeah.
I was doing
bread and butter stuff.
I was doing all of it. And I was running myself to the ground ragged, and it was like, no, this is what I want to do. But for me to do that, I can't be doing what I used to do because I'm never going to have the time to do it. So I had to say no. And then people learned after a while that I wasn't around. And then when I came back, it was trying to tell people that I am around.
Yeah.
Then trying to establish that.
Remember me?
Yeah, that kind of thing. And it was, I think, a chance situation when Jules called me and he was like, I need you to get some singers together and actually this is the gig that we're doing.
Yeah.
And the first one was the Quincy Jones one, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can never remember which way round it was, whether it was the Pete Tong
I feel like it was Pete first.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Because there was other proms that we did in between. And then the Quincy one kind of came. And that, to me, to be able to be given the permission to take classic songs and add to that, whatever you feel, I was like...
And how much freedom did they give you?
All of the freedom.
Wow.
Which was such a blessing, really. And in a way, I was kind of like having to prove myself at first to somebody like Jules.
Yeah.
To be like, this is how I hear it. What do you think? Obviously, we can change if you don't like it because you're the boss man, but this could be vibes. Trying to elevate a song to give people the live experience.
Yeah.
So it's like a nice little element
it's not the same track.
Yeah.
It's also you're transcending genres as well, so...
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to dance especially, I have fun with the Pete Tong gig because it's like there's things that I add which don't exist in certain songs, which, I have a love for like dance music as well as like R&B and jazz. And I guess I tap into the R&B and jazz to arrange in dance music, because I'm always like, well, what do I do when I'm in the club and I'm singing along? There's things that happen in my brain, in my mind, when I'm in the dance floor and I'm like, oh, I wish it did this or I wish it did that.
Yeah.
I've now been given an opportunity to do that. I'm like, well, I'm a Zuzi, and I have capable singers.
Yeah.
Shout out to Holly Petrie and Brendan Riley, and actually Sam White, who was the original, one of the original singers that I had gotten on board, and she was with us for a good significant time at the beginning as well. Like competent, really good singers. Because every time I did things like that, I always wanted to get people who was best for the job. So I had to actually take friendship out of it sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, not sometimes, all the times. That's what I do now in my job, is like if I'm being asked to put a chorale together, a section of singers together for a particular project, particular artist, I'm like, okay, who sounds good together? And what sound are we trying to go for? And there are some singers whose tones are better suited in pop projects better than in R&B stuff, than in dance stuff. It's all kind of different and intertwining. And it's not like I don't, people are rubbish, because they're not. It's like, who is better suited?
Fits.
Yeah, who fits? And I think that's the thing that I'm like, that's what I want to go for. That's what I want to try and do. It's part and parcel of when you're building the section, you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, yes, I want to ask this person, but do they fit? Have they got the right attitude?
Are they available?
First of all, you're available, because if you're really, really good, more than likely you're not. But if you're available, but also, I have to consider things like attitude and professionalism, because there are some people who are amazing, but maybe don't get as called as much because they don't have a favorable reputation.
Yeah.
And
what kind of reasons? Like they're late, or
they don't
difficult
learn.
to work with?
They're difficult to work with because they've got an attitude. They don't learn. They're late, or sometimes it's like it might not necessarily be their fault, but there are other people who learn quicker than others.
Yeah.
And I think the ones who don't learn as quick, that's the thing of learning along the way. What can I do in order to make that part better so that I can get the calls to get the gigs? This is what I mean about earning like your stripes and learning a lot. I learned along the way on certain gigs where, like the Beverly Night gigs, where I've had to, be on the ball.
Things change.
Yeah.
Songs get swapped out.
Okay.
Some maybe we're gonna put in a new section. You have to be able to react to it, I guess.
That part.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes if a curveball like that is thrown in halfway through a tour, some people might not like that because they don't like change. But then that affects your position. Yeah, absolutely. You need to be able to be, as a backing vocalist, you need to be flexible and cater to the artist or the project's needs.
But how do you balance that with also being memorable enough as a backing artist and individual enough as a backing artist for people to call you back?
Well, there's a skill in being a successful backing artist, and that's not being memorable, but that's not the first thing, because you're not supposed to. Being a backing vocalist is you're straight away working with the team. So, and majority of the time it'll be 3 of y'all, because it'll be 3 parts. Soprano section, an alto section, and a tenor section. You're supposed to work as a unit. So you're not supposed to be, sticking out. You're supposed to, the 3 of y'all are supposed to be the instrument that, enhances the lead, what's going on.
Yeah.
Same thing like a keyboard player, same thing like a bass player. Yeah, of course, if you're going to be performing, have a bit of pizzazz and a bit of seasoning, but don't stick out. Sometimes I've heard of ridiculous stories where some people, they lost the gig because they oversung or were better than the artist.
We've all seen it.
Oh my God. So that's a different thing to being an artist and being lead, because that's a different discipline altogether.
Yeah.
So when it comes to singing, because there are some people who I think are not backing vocalists. They just
They're
work,
frustrated solo-wise.
and they work better when they are able to just be themselves and be the artist. You know what I mean? But there are some people who they just shine in that space, in that backing vocal world, in that space. And you have to be versatile. You have to be able to flip and flop and know the difference of the discipline of the two. Know what is required to be a backing vocalist. Know what is required to then step forward and do your thing. Because there's way more freedom being a lead. Absolutely. Way more freedom. But than being a backing vocalist. You know, there are certain perimeters that you got to stay in because you're working with a team. You know, there's no iron. I was going to say backing vocalist, but there clearly is. There's no iron team.
Backing vocalist. There's a couple of eyes.
Yeah, I know. Forget that one. Forget that one. Forget it. Hey, there's no iron team. That one. So he's the team. You're supposed to be in the team.
Yeah. How do you find singers when you're looking for them? So now that you said you don't look just to your friends, how do you find other singers?
Recommendations. And now, again, technology can play to our advantage. Social media. There you go.
If you're an artist or
if you are an artist,
singer.
Absolutely, then being able to see you do your thing. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, they've got an ear, they've got something. It's like an audition tape in a way. You know, it's a little business card, visual business card where we can see and hear you for like 1 minute. And then if you've got a couple of those, especially those that are showing a different range. And I'm not talking about genres of singing. Like seeing you do stuff with other people is brilliant, as well as you just being in a room singing on your own. Yeah. There's a lot of, solo artists who are just singing in a room for a minute or two. But it's so different than standing in front of 10,000 plus people.
Yeah.
Or actually, let's start it off in front of like 300 people, and then you have to do a gig for an hour. It's different than giving us 1 minute snippets all the time of stuff where you can, that was rubbish, let me do it again. Delete. There's no time for delete.
Yeah.
There's no time for that. You can
just push your best one.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's real.
I mean, yes, there's an element of realness because you sung, but I love the spontaneity of live music and being able to tap into someone's character, someone's musical language. What makes me a fan of the artistry of that person is, seeing them being authentic in how they express themselves within the art that they're creating. That's part and parcel of it. And if they can't do that, because you'll forever have to be, yes, there's a time when you have to be, perfect, so to speak. But sometimes the perfection, I don't want. Yeah. I don't want that.
I want to see some real.
Yeah, I want the rough and I want the seasoning. I want, I don't necessarily say that I want to see people dropping. But if something was to happen, how are you going to finesse that or come with that? It really makes me cringe when people are like, oh, no, can I start again? No.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just sing the thing.
Almost makes it worse. You're like bringing attention to...
Ooh, to the thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, child.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about, because the auditioning process is quite a challenging process.
It is intense.
And I almost think back to my time when I used to sing. I think half the reason why, because I enjoyed back in singing the opportunities that I got to do it. But I think half the reason why I never made more of a thing of it was because I was afraid to go to auditions.
Why? Where did the fear come from?
Because I just liked making music. I don't want to be judged for singing.
Okay.
I know I can sing. It's just whether you like me or not. And I would take it personally.
Yeah, And
how do you deal with that and get over it?
Experience. Just experience and time. I'm talking to you as a 40-something-year-old woman.
But I also find it hard to believe you ever got rejected. So.
I definitely did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, totes. Like, you're talking to a black woman in an industry that is forever rejecting black women.
Fair.
Okay, I'm not a skinny black woman as well. I'm a curvy black lady.
Blessed.
Highly favored, amen. I'm constantly being overlooked back in the day because I didn't have the aesthetic that blended in. as a backing vocalist. I was too short, but I'm singing. Who's that one? I'm taking the attention away from the lead. I've been in situations where my voice was used, but they're not going to use my image.
Oh, for real?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me more. Off the record.
yeah, but yeah, I've absolutely been in those situations. Or I've been in those situations where I just was overlooked because I didn't have the aesthetic. That is probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
As a backing vocalist, not looking like a backing vocalist.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. I've been in situations where I'm definitely the token black person so that I can meet the numbers. But
how do you feel about that?
Well, it doesn't feel great.
Because you did it.
Yes, of course I did it. But I was young and naive.
Fair.
And the older that I've become, I think I'm prepared to stand more in my beliefs and morals and be like, and say no. Because I think, again, going back to learning the power of no is how it empowers you as a person and opens up other opportunities. There's times I do say no to certain things because I'm just like, that's not my money. You know, the gig could be $1,000. That's not my grand. Do you know what I mean? End of. And for every grand I say no to, it's going to come. You've got to believe that. It's because if you're good enough, it's going to come to you.
Yeah.
Maybe not in one time.
Or at this time.
Or this time, exactly. Absolutely. Because certain things that I have done, they will stay and follow you as well. That's another thing. It's like, okay, I need the money because I need to pay the rent, but I'll say yes to it even though I don't like it or whatever. Or a situation of, I know I'm the token black person in this thing. I'm still,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain things I guess looking back that I probably might not have. But I don't like having regrets.
And also taking those steps, doing those gigs.
It's
got
part
you
of
to
it.
here.
It's part and parcel of the experience. The way it made me feel doing certain gigs where I was spoken to a certain kind of way, which you just, you learn to remix yourself in those spaces.
What do you mean by that?
Like, you need to, sometimes just a simple thing is learning not to retaliate or answer back. When somebody's talking to you in a passive-aggressive manner.
To be diplomatic. This is a job. I'm here to be a professional. I'm not taking it too personally.
Because if it was a different situation, a different circumstance, I'm going to thump you. Don't talk to me like that. I will thump you down.
Yeah, fair.
And I would. But, but I don't condone violence. Violence is not the answer.
But back to my point about the audition thing. So you're saying you recognize those moments where you were being tokenized or where you were being overlooked?
Some of those experiences, some of those situations at the time, no, I didn't recognize them. I'll be honest. But it didn't feel good. And sometimes
how do you dust yourself off to go back and go again? Even though I'm sure you had situations where you would go for something and you were like, actually, I felt good about that. And I know I've done enough. And then they said no. Yeah,
I think for me, I learned early on to really try and push down those feelings and be like, well, it wasn't for me. That job wasn't for me. Because then it's like, I will hear about what happened or whoever got the gig and things went...
You dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Then I'll be like, okay, it wasn't for me then.
Fair.
And there's one or two things that I've gone for. They've said no, and that person, whoever got it, went on to do amazing things.
And good for them.
Absolutely, because it actually was for them. Even if I got the thing that I went for, like maybe the journey will definitely not be the same for me as it was for that person who got the gig.
I think what you said in the middle of that, which I thought was really cool, was that's not my grand. That's maybe for someone else.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it.
Absolutely. I think, I've had to really look into my value and my worth and to know that what is for me will happen. The money that I make through the music will come to me. The kind of work that I want to do, I have the power to say no to things. This, hence going back to the power of no. I want to, people will treat you the way that you show them because of what you allow.
Yeah.
So if you allow for people to talk to you a certain way, if you are constantly being seen doing certain jobs, you're constantly then going to be offered those kind of gigs, even though you don't want to do it. Then don't complain. Actually, maybe swerve a little piece and try a thing. Like, create the space to be able to then, the things that you want in your life come in so you have the time to do them. And I think it took me a minute, because it wasn't an overnight thing for sure, but it took me a minute to actually learn that, to be like, well, if you're going to be offering me pop gigs and I don't want to do as many pop gigs anymore, then I've got to say no. And that's scary. That to me is probably the scariest thing that I've ever done, more time than auditioning.
How come?
Because of money.
Yeah, because
I'm the
some of those gigs are quite a big deal as well.
I'm the breadwinner in my family. I'm an only child. I look after my parents as well as myself. Yes, okay, granted, I don't have any kids or anything like that, but I definitely have financial responsibility because I look after my family back at home in Africa as well. It's a scary thing to not be able to send money home when you know they need it. Because for every note that I sing, for every gig that I do, understand that my main primary motivation, without a doubt, are my parents.
You got to take care of home.
I've got to, because they sacrificed too much to allow me to actually live this life.
Yeah.
My dad is part of the ANC, African National Congress, and my mum's a nurse, a retired nurse now, and they left Africa a long time and didn't step foot in Africa for a long time because of the political unrest that was happening, and we seek asylum in this country.
Yeah.
And to then be given the opportunity to actually, and I've got the support of them. They're my biggest fans as well as my biggest critiques. But having that, and now this is my job. I don't work in an office because I have to. I don't work in a supermarket because I have to. And that's not cussing people who are doing that, because you got to do what you got to do. Everyone's situation is very, very different. But for me, I was like, the fact that I've had the opportunity to work at creating and building on my career, building on, the experience, for people to actually know that this is what she does, and hey, she's actually all right. She's quite good.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to go and work in an office.
Have a regular job.
You'll get a regular job? No.
Never.
I have. I have had a regular job. I've been a secretary for a criminal lawyer before.
Interesting.
Very briefly.
How long?
3 months.
Okay, that was partial probation.
Yeah.
Or maybe you didn't actually.
No. Well, it was only for a summertime.
Fair.
And then I worked at Topshop as well for a while. And that was it.
Yeah.
I've been lucky.
Fair.
I've I have, like, I was gonna say auditioned. I have gone for jobs and not gotten them.
Fair.
I didn't get a job at Sainsbury's.
Wasn't for you. I actually tried to get a job at Sainsbury's and I got rejected as well.
Yeah, I got rejected. And I was like,
what the hell?
I was very taken aback by that, because I just thought they'd say yes to anyone and everyone.
Legit. I know people that work in Sainsbury's that have committed crimes.
Hey.
And I'm like, how have
you, me? Oh, but yeah, I just think, my career, the success of my career, I absolutely put it down to the motivation are my parents and my family. And the enormous, ridiculous sacrifice that they've taken out of their life to give to little old me. I can't fail. And this is why I can't, and for every time that I feel like I'm tripping up, I'm like, but there was no option to trip up or to fail, because if that means going home, that means sometimes death.
Yeah, legitimately.
Like, for real, for real. So I can't fail at this. And for every no, yes, of course, I'm a human being. I'm gonna hurt, and I'm allowed to cry. But you gotta learn to pick yourself up, and that's part and parcel of learning your stripes.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, and that's where I think through that is when I learned, like, well, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Because as time goes on and then you learn about the gig, the person that got it, and then something narrates or whatever, it's like, well, then that actually would have happened to me, number one. Or number two, maybe that gig, I wouldn't have lasted as much.
Yeah.
It's just how life is and things that pan out. It's like, if you put too much emphasis on the what ifs, that's going to stifle you or stall your journey. And for me, it's like there are opportunities that I've had where I could have said yes to, and that would have put me in a position where I wouldn't be where I am today, where, being respected in the way that I am, I don't take that for granted. I've worked really hard at things like that because, it is important to me. All I ever really want to do is to entertain people and to make people feel good in the gift that has been given to me. And and the best way I can do that is creating the art that makes me feel good. And I don't like pretending.
Yeah.
And I don't like, and that's singing songs that I don't like, especially as a lead or something like that. It doesn't cut it.
It starts to get soul destroying after a while.
And I don't want to get to that position where the thing that I love the most is music in life. And if that, when I wake up and then I just feel about it.
You don't want to be jaded.
It's not for me anymore. You know what I mean? I get so much joy. I might be tired as heck physically. Or there's other times I'm just like, I want to do this another time because I just don't feel at my best. But the joy that I get from singing, from creating, from writing, from collaborating with people, it's like we're creating music. We're creating art.
That's the thing I think I miss the most about not being in music anymore is the writing. I loved being in the studio.
It's not too late.
I mean, yeah, I guess I could.
The only time it's late.
I still know words.
Yeah. Listen, I always say it's never too late until you're gone.
Fair.
When you're gone is when it's too late.
True.
But you can, it's never too late to get into something that you love from any level as well. And so many people, if you really wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think my problem is I've always got another thing I can do.
Okay, then.
Things keep me busy.
Okay. Well,
more about you, less about me.
Okay.
We kind of touched on it earlier, just before we started. I was asking you because you spent a lot of time obviously writing, and I was wondering why you never got into production yourself. Given that your father was a musician, you know music.
It's a simple answer.
What is it?
I'm lazy. It was like, I do have an understanding, and I know my way around a computer. I know my way around certain instruments. I just never, unfortunately, had the self-discipline. There's something in me from when I was a kid that I hated not being able to pick up something and then just play it.
Yeah.
Like what I'm hearing.
If you weren't Prince at it, I'm not doing it.
No, because it's like, the melody is that. Open my mouth, I sing. It's that. So now you're telling me I've got to do this? Boring. I don't want it. And then I would get, as a kid, I'll just get extra frustrated. So my dad definitely hired a piano teacher. And I think by lesson 4, they were like, it's useless.
Not gonna work.
It's not gonna work because she's just, I would lie and say that, yes, I did the exercises. Absolutely I didn't. I was so good at playing the Channel 4 theme, Channel 4 News.
Okay.
I was so good at playing that. Like, I would take time figuring out EastEnders. I kind of used to know how to play that.
Yeah.
But then a scale, forget about it. I just was, my dad, right, plays guitar and bass guitar. And, I expressed that, it would be amazing to play bass guitar.
Yeah.
Because I
love bass guitar.
I have like this extra love for that instrument, absolutely. And I wish I could play that. Like the way in which I want to play it for sure. So my dad bought me cheap bass. And when I was like, I was so excited. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. And my dad was teaching me. First of all, I'm my father's child.
Yeah.
I don't have patience. He doesn't have patience.
Fair.
So I used to complain about the pain on the fingers.
Yeah. Steel strings.
And he was just like, get over it or get out.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe. I think it lasted 3 weeks, the lessons with my dad. And then I was like, all right, fine, maybe it's because you're my dad, so let's get somebody else. And he was like, you pay for that. At that point, he was over it. Because the piano thing, I was like 8, 9. The bass thing, it was like 12 and 13. And it was like, no.
Yeah.
So that mentality, learning something, technology. And I mean, I know my way, my logic and things like that. Absolutely. And if I put my mind to it, I know I'll be a bad boy producer.
That's why I asked. I thought, because a lot of really good vocalists, when they do know their way around the software, especially with vocal arrangement.
So, okay, when it comes to vocal arranging, that's a different thing because I have such an extra excitement of love for vocals. And I think that's what pushed me to learn my way around a computer so that I can record myself.
Yeah.
And I can edit and comp myself. So there's a project that some people might or might not know that I got involved with called Diva Geek.
Yes.
With a very, very ridiculous musician called Ben Jones.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben Jones.
Ben's insane. He's a crazy person. And he's one of those people that can play almost anything.
Now you see how I was just telling you, it's like, I'm just so bored of. He's the complete opposite. He just picks up something, plays it,
ukulele.
and it sounds ridiculous.
Doesn't matter.
Like, I hate you. So we did an album, and I comped most of the vocals because I knew what I wanted to hear because I created these things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ben probably took over and then was like, let me just, in terms of like effects and this and that and the other, but I know my way around, especially when it comes to like treating and editing vocals. And then when the pandemic happened, it was kind of like, you have to. You kind of have to, yeah. And I did a lot of stuff myself, recording myself. The songs that I do on the last Pete Tong EP, where that I'm featured on, I recorded myself.
Oh, damn.
And comped those vocals. One of those songs, I won't tell you which one, I definitely was in my underwear. Definitely in the kitchen in my underwear. And I was like, I gotta finish this. It's really hot. Ain't nobody seeing me. I had a head wrap. I was comfy.
Nice.
So that...
Comfort is key.
Yeah. So I'll leave that with y'all.
Difference-wise, working on your own projects versus working for other people's.
Yeah. Definitely when I'm writing with somebody else in mind, it's like I'm wearing a different hat. Because what's cool is actually if I know the person that I'm writing for. Because for me, it's one thing to just write a song where you know it's like, I'm not the one who's going to sing this. But who knows who's going to sing it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you write a song and, you will... sing it knowing that it's not for you, but it might not even be for a female because the key will change and maybe it's for a guy, versus writing a song that is not for you as an artist but you know who you're writing it for. That's again a different thing versus writing something for yourself. I mean, I like to be really the most authentic self when I write for me, and I guess that's a new thing. Because when I used to write for myself, I absolutely used to just think of different scenarios that was nothing to do with my life.
Yeah.
Or friends. I'll be singing about friends' situations. And obviously, if I'm singing it, people will be like, oh, is that what happened? Or is that what
you're going through?
No. But it's actually because I didn't want people to know my business.
Yeah.
Really. But the songs that we gravitate to just as human beings, things that I guess we tap into because that person has been able to express it in the most authentic way,
Yeah.
where it makes you feel like they are going through
Whitney
that.
Houston comes to mind. This is the best
First-
example of that.
First and foremost,
Yeah.
like, period. Do you know what I'm saying?
Because she felt every breath and syllable in the songs that she sang and didn't write a
Absolutely.
single one.
Absolutely. And I think that's a skill, that's a discipline, and that's genius. To be
I also
able-
think it's good writing though, because they knew they were writing for her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the majority of her work, the body of work, it was tailored for her. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not at the beginning.
No, definitely not at the beginning.
Do you know what I mean? But when I write, like, collab with different people, and I'm writing songs with no destination necessarily, I do find that fun. Because
Is there a freedom to it?
yeah, there's a different kind of freedom, because you can still tap into, like, whatever's happening in your life, or, you know, yeah, whatever's happening, and you're just like, yeah, well, but I'm definitely a bit more throwaway with songs that I'm not doing. I'm not gonna lie, I care more about stuff that is gonna be seen me.
Yeah, it's your name,
yeah,
your face.
totally. Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what's it like putting out your own record then? Because you've done a couple now.
Scary.
You did your Lashavu album.
Yes.
Did that project with Ben.
Yes.
Is there another one?
Then I did my own EP in 08. And then I've got, I should have more stuff that's been out, but I guess my biggest challenge in my life, you know, I said all the things that I've said because I think I'm trying to talk to myself, because my biggest fear is failing at being me. So it's easier for me to do stuff for other people. 1000%. Because I'm like, if it doesn't work out, okay, it didn't work out. And
That's not me.
Yeah, it's way easier for me. Even though I played a part in that, so much easier for me to move on from that. I've definitely become more sensitive as I've gone older, in the stuff that I wanted to, in my own solo stuff. And actually, I know that it's tapping into me being older, because who wants to listen to a 40-something-year-old singing R&B?
I do.
Thanks. But those are the questions that I ask myself. You know, especially when you look at how we as society consume music.
And how it's changed and how we consume music. You know, most songs are written for TikTok now. Almost first and foremost, which is bizarre.
Which I cannot. I'm old school then, in that sense. I don't subscribe to that. Like, if it's a song that's popular and it's on TikTok, great. But that's not my
what you're
template.
aiming for.
No, absolutely not. And, you know, the way in which we consume music, in terms of, you've got to be able to get somebody, you know, in the first 30 seconds, and, you know, are they young and spunky and you know, Chris enough. And so I'm getting older, and you know, seeing how people, like, the reasons why they like certain artists, it has kind of evolved and changed. And a lot of the time, a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, is so visual, the reason why they're into certain artists, more than the actual art itself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's...
It's odd for it being music, which is mostly being listened to, but
Okay.
image still matters so much.
Absolutely. And that is a scary thing for me, because of it taps into my personal insecurities. And my personal insecurities evolve around how I look. End of story.
Yeah.
And this industry has taught me that.
Well, because you're not conventional.
No.
For what the industry
I'm not tall enough.
standards are.
Yeah, I've been told that I'm not tall enough for a lot of things. I've been told that I'm not black enough to be the black one.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Okay. And, you know, or I've definitely been told that I'm not pretty enough. I've been told that I've got an amazing face for radio.
What?
Which was
You have an amazing face. End of.
Like, it was very, what? It was very that.
Wow.
But, yeah, just, so over the years, with the experiences and of the acts and the artists that I've worked with, not every experience has been amazing. Not every act that I've worked with has been generously beautiful and a positive experience. And it's how I've dealt with it over the years. So to be able to actually go out and just do my thing, you know, it's a scary thing of how you're going to be perceived. But I'm working on myself in just being able to accept that this is what I do. I can't be Jasmine Sullivan. No. I can't be Beyonce. I can't be her. These are the people that I really love. But these people can't be me either. I can only be me.
Yeah.
And somebody's gonna like what I do. You.
Yeah. You got one fan at least.
I got one. So yay.
But how are you adapting? Because you said that you've acknowledged how things are changing in the way that music is consumed, in the way that people are interacting with artists and content in general. How are you adapting to that?
But I'm trying. As
a professional, where are you kind of placing yourself now?
And what, in terms of my own stuff?
Well, not just your own stuff, because maybe you're not focusing so much on your own stuff. I don't know. What are you? How is the landscape changing how you're working with it?
I'm definitely trying to fit somewhat, and evolve more than anything. Like in terms of just watching how people are and how they consume. It's like, okay, the things that you kind of have to do. But then I'm rebellious and in my old school ways, because the things that you kind of have to do, you have to create content in order to get certain likes. Because then when you get certain likes, that's the certain traffic and the certain attention goes into you. And then from that, it's like the content that you create, then if you were to then release something that's got nothing to do with the content that you created, and it's like, is it going to hit the same? All of that you have to consider. And again, when it comes to creating content, like the way in which you present yourself to the world, is it authentic or not? Or, you know, we live in filter world, for God's sake.
So what kind of stuff have you focused on sharing in terms of content then?
Well, when it comes to like my social platforms, I haven't got anybody else that's doing it. It really is me. A lot of the time, I kind of like don't even put a lot of stuff that I'm doing in terms of like work, where I'm totally just always showing, like, I'm in the studio, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I don't really do that often. I put funny memes, and I'm here to try and make people laugh. But I'm trying to get into that, into the exercise of actually just showing a bit more of me musically.
Yeah. And
that means really just like exposing and putting more content out, really. Do you know what I mean?
I think you're doing a good job of that, though. I've seen you've been posting a lot more BTS stuff when you're in the studio working on sessions.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that more because I think this would be cool, maybe. Yeah. So, you know, a little boomerang or a little 10-second. I'm like, bloop, okay, thank you. You know, because I've been told, it's like, well, people don't know. And again, I've kind of really got to take my own words in. Yeah. You know, people will treat me the way that I show them that how I want to be treated. And so if it's certain opportunities that I want, sometimes just showing a little 5% of the things that I'm doing, which is within the thing of what I want to work and do more.
Yeah.
How would people going to know if I don't show them?
For real.
In a way, that kind of thing. And I mean, I'm, you know, like I said, I'm kind of sleeping on myself because I created a whole EP during lockdown.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
When's it coming out?
I can't tell you when. But I am, and I've just been actually writing and working with loads of different people. With Sam Crow, with Ruben James, with Ben Jones, I'm starting to write with again, nice. Which has been really lovely, actually. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, it's like, all right, I just really should, because I admire the musicians that I work with, who inspire me all the time and who I'm fans of, that just constantly create and just put it out and don't care. They have a known, you know, they don't careism. spirit
Yeah.
and I just put things out. And if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because I've got so much more shit and I'm like, I need to be there. I need to do that really more.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
And not care, because I care too much, I think.
Do you reckon you're too precious?
I don't know if it's for me, when I hear somebody say that, it's like, oh my God, I've created the most amazing thing and I don't want nobody to kind of like cuss it or this or that. It's not in that way. It's more, I focus too much on, are you going to like it? More than, oh my God, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Because of course I like it. But then I'm just so scared of like, yeah. But actually, I shouldn't be. I actually shouldn't be. Because I'm okay. I'm not saying that I'm the best person, And I know that there's some people who might not necessarily like what I do in the way that I write, how I sound, my R&B or my dance. But there are some people who I think will enjoy it.
One of the things that you started doing post-lockdown that I absolutely love is your night at Ronnie Scott's.
Oh, yes.
How did that come about?
Oh,
because it was brilliant.
Thank you. Well, I had an opportunity to curate a night. I got given the opportunity by the managers at Ronnie Scott's. They just asked me because they were like, especially after lockdown, kind of like revamping, so to speak, their programs of certain things that they were putting in their venue. And that included the Thursday nights, the late shows, Thursday nights. And they wanted a different demographic to start coming to the place as well, or give them the opportunity so it's not just jazz all the time. And I think, so there's like 4 of us that got asked and we're all in rotation. I've got the second Thursday of every month.
Vula and
Friends. And the way I've curated the night is not just for me. Hence why I don't have a band. I have friends who are all musicians, who are all singers, who are all brilliant, who I'm fans of, who play for your favourite artists. And I wanted to create a night where those folk get the light shone on them. And people get to see them, people get to hear them and enjoy them. And so every month is always a different band, different set of folk that are on stage with me. And certain months I'll have a theme, a special. I just did 80 special in celebration of my birthday, because May is like the best month, guys. Thanks. And then October is always the anniversary. I say always, I've only really had one anniversary, but that's when I got asked, and my first ever one was October the 14th, 2001.
21.
2021. Oh God, can you imagine if it was 2001? It would be going on for a long time. Yeah, exactly. So the anniversary was 2022, which is October just gone. And I'm so surprised at the success, the amount of people that come every month. Oh my God. Like, there's people that queue for a long time.
I mean, the last time I was there, I met people that had flown over from Germany. Like, you've got international fans now, which is wild.
People tell me this, and I'm just like, they were around, and then they just happened to come down.
They don't specifically. They flew that weekend. They flew in for a long weekend in London to come to your show.
Crazy.
That's what you've built. That's what you've built.
That to me is like insane. Like the concept of that, insane to me. Like I love that. It's just, it brings me so much joy, and it really does humble me. Like, okay, what I dreamt about doing is working because the people want it. It'll be really boring if a whole night is just me on my own, just singing a cappella. You'd enjoy it the first 2 songs.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's like, nah, man, allow it.
And I could do it all night for sure. But every month, you would eventually run out of things to do that would excite you. Not even just like...
Well, on my own.
Like, to enjoy it yourself. It would get boring if it was just you.
Yes.
But the fact that you change it up every month...
I'm always
keeps things fun and fresh.
Very that. And that's why, and then putting an element of fun into it. And the one thing I wanted to do with the night specifically was I want it to be as real as possible. Especially, it's a late show. So in those ungodly hours, like, that's the time when I can really just show up and show out, kind of thing. Not in a provocative way, but I just want it to be really authentically me. So understand that, because there are some people, there's one or two people that maybe haven't necessarily understood the concept, but I do have a section in the show called, the Black Classic, where it's not because it's by a song, it's a song by a black artist. It's like, if you were to go to a Black Shubs or, where in black culture, this song has influenced, inspired us as a race. I think it's us and beyond, actually. I think it's important to shed light on that as well.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of things that, you would never say 10, 15, 20 years ago. Because people are like, no, it's a classic. Of course it's a classic. Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is, if you went to a black wedding and this
key song,
there's a specific song that goes down, people are gonna throw their hats in the air, which is different to if you played the same song at a bar mitzvah.
And I guess interestingly as well, not all of those songs will be by black artists.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I've done Lisa Stansfield, Been Around the World. Yeah. That to me is a black classic. Yeah. I'm sorry. And there's evidence of that, because there's video of her doing it at the Apollo in New York at the time when it came out. And people were like, who's this white girl? Yes! Loving and enjoying. It's like, it's a classic. Yeah. Absolutely. There's certain specific songs, if I was
Michael McDonald, Keep Forgetting.
Michael McDonald. No,
that's a black classic. That's a black classic.
Thank you very much. Noted.
You know that for next month.
But like, so to actually create that and be unapologetic about that.
So I'm guessing they give you a lot of freedom there as well.
Yeah, I've had a conversation that I got offered that, to be like, this is kind of like how I want to do it. And they were like, we're offering you the night for you to curate it however you want it. Yeah. So if you want it as a duet, you go ahead and you do that. Yeah. If you want a whole army of people, you go ahead and you do that. We trust you. We follow your lead in terms of how you want to do it. And the proof, as far as I'm concerned, without wanting to sound big-headed, that's not my intention, but people come every month, keep coming every month, pay at the door, buy drinks. So from a business perspective, is the thing open? Is the kitchen open?
Yeah, I've had food when I've been before. When you get there early. I think the kitchen's open until like 11, I think.
Anyway.
So you need to start feeding you.
Yeah, I'm like, run me my plate. No. Like, from a business point of view, that's really great for Ronnie's, because it's bringing a good crowd and enough bodies.
And also a crowd of people that may not have been to Ronnie's before.
Yeah.
That kind of event.
There are some people who definitely hadn't been to Ronnie's, and maybe going to a main show where a ticket on average is like 30, 40 quid, whereas you're in central London and you're paying £12.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even buy a drink around there for that.
So like, if I can, create a night where you're getting that experience for £12 in central London, I want to come to the night. Yeah. I want to come to the night as a punter. That will never happen, actually, because I want somebody else to do it, and I just enjoy it. I was saying that to someone the other day. It's like, I would go to Vula and Friends. Absolutely. I'd be maybe a regular, or not, but I definitely want to go once, but ain't never going to happen. I'm so proud of the night. I'm so proud of what we've built. And when I say we, it's me and my business partner, Mike Howe, who helps me run the night, and keeps me in place as well. Because, we do the set list together. He helps me to curate the night and get the special guests, not him, we. He leaves me to choose, ask who I want to play with, because I'm the one that's on the stage. But he will suggest as well people who I might not know of.
Okay.
And he does, because, the network for him as well is different because of the kind of stuff that he does as well, which is what I love. So we're forever
collaboration.
Like absolutely 1000%. And I wouldn't be able to do it the way that we're doing it right now without him, for sure. I would definitely fumble my way through on my own, because I've always kind of wanted to do it. And it's really weird because I had spoken to him years ago, but I think it'd be really great to actually do a night. But it's also hard work.
Yeah.
And actually it is hard work in terms of like, what the hell am I going to do this month? What am I going to sing?
Yeah.
That I don't always like repeating songs. And then I just realised that, hold on, I don't actually really know a lot of songs.
Yeah.
That's why the iPad is there.
Yeah.
And I, sometimes I look back and I'm like, I want to do songs where I actually know. But then if I was to do songs that I know, it would be like 80s every month.
Yeah.
Because that's what I grew up on. 80s and 90s is what I love, and is what raised me musically. But I'm trying to tap more into the music that is circling around us now.
Yeah. And what are you loving at the moment?
Well, the stuff that I'm loving is artists like Lucky Day.
Yeah, incredible.
I'm an absolute fan of Alex Isley.
Oh, she's
my
she's my now Layla.
Yeah, she's my everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you ever get a chance to watch this, girl, I need you on Vula and
She's
Friends.
incredible.
And I love you.
That when she does Vula and Friends, I will be front and center.
Yeah, did you be there?
Yeah, 100%.
I absolutely adore
I don't know.
her.
I mean, I understand how she's so good, but I almost don't understand how she's so good. She sings like she's been in the industry for 50 years.
I mean, she does have an advantage because of her family. The family ties there.
It
but
helps.
also, the language is there.
There's just so much depth to her writing and her note choices. And
there you go. Like the language. And I just love how soft and sensual she actually is. Like, there's not really a lot of shouting. A lot of, necessarily, some people might be like, oh, it's boring, where there's not too much projection.
Yeah.
I just love how she's presented herself.
Yeah.
And it's just the next, I love her.
Yeah.
She's, I think, my number one right now.
She was my most listened to on Spotify last year.
She's my most listened to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Love, and live. And actually my number 2 was Lucky Day.
Okay. Sure.
Lucky Day, I'm just like, especially his, the earlier stuff, involved. Love her, but I listen to her earlier stuff again.
Yeah.
But I actually really like the stuff that she's coming out with as well. Anderson .Paak.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan
He's
of.
a beast live as well.
I would love to
if
see.
he did Vula and Friends,
Oh my god!
get him in.
But I would really want to get like Silk Sonic.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
Silk Sonic
That's gonna happen.
would be so
Why not?
amazing. Yeah, I love the fact that the night has grown and people, because of how it's been online, people are tapping in and are like, "What's this night? What's going on?" Because now people are actually asking like, yo, I'm hearing this is a spot to go to, and some people are like, hold on, you should do it more often. I'm
And
like,
a lot of people come to London.
yeah.
So-
I mean, I want to get more international folk doing it, not just in America, but from other parts of the world. It would be incredible, actually, to just get other artists and to come in and bless the mind.
And I think that's one of those things that will elevate it to that next level.
I hope so.
I think that's gonna happen.
I mean, we've dedicated an IG page now. And again, a couple of my friends have been like saying, you should do this on TikTok. And I'm like, oh God, I got to go TikTok.
Another platform.
I got to go on TikTok. But we do have plans, we as in myself and Mike, in elevating the night, which I'm not going to reveal too much, but we're in plans of doing stuff. And all I would say is like, watch this space and follow. If you are on Instagram at the moment, we do have an Instagram page. So follow Vula and Friends as well as myself. Because
we were just about to get to that, so we're wrapping up anyway. I was going to say thank you. For coming in.
Thank
Really
you for
appreciate
inviting me. It's been
and
Really cool.
And for everyone who wants to look more into what you do in your work and also your night, how can they find you guys online?
Well, everything Vula Vox. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on Insta, I am on TikTok actually, even though I'm not really as active as I should be.
And that's VULA.
VULAVOX. Vula Vox. And my name is Vula, not Vula Vox. Because there's some people out there like, oh my God, there's Vula Vox. Just Vula is fine. But yes, I have my own pages on those platforms. And then Vula and Friends is on Instagram at the moment. It will grow. So if you follow Vula and Friends, you will get all the information and more as the night develops.
And I highly recommend, if you're in London on the second Thursday of a month, you must check it out because it is a really brilliant night. And I wish I could get down more, but I'm not in the country enough.
Yeah, well, it's because
I will be.
Because he's collecting those miles, miles. It's been really brilliant, and also, hopefully, it's giving me that platform because I get to do my own stuff. Occasionally, I'll do like an original song, and you know, some people have said to me, "Why are you not doing more of your original stuff?" But
this is the platform for that. You can start testing the waters with it.
I am going to start to do that for sure. So, yeah, and also just look out. Like, I will be releasing new material. I promise. I will be releasing new material. I promise. It's coming.
All right. Well, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for listening and watching. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the sections relevant, or just send me a DM. Make sure you follow Vula Vox as well. And we will see you guys in another episode. Thank you so much for watching.